Hi everyone, my name's Arsh. I'm with a very good friend and business partner of mine today called Neil McCoy Ward. Neil, are you online?
I am Ash. Good evening.
Right, okay, Neil, we're doing something a little bit different today, which is that we're actually live across 6 different platforms. Now, I don't think anyone's ever done this before, and we've got people watching us live. We've got the guys on the webinar live as well. So, first thing that I'm just going to ask is, can everyone hear us clearly and loudly and correctly? And if you could just let us know, that'd be fantastic. So let's just quickly see how we're getting on. So everyone's saying that they can hear us. Right, fantastic. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about how to start a rent-to-rent business and make £650 a month cash flow per property without actually owning the property. Now, does that interest you? More importantly, if it does, you're in the right place. Now, like I said, we've got my business partner and sales trainer online, Neil. Neil, would you mind saying a quick hello to everyone?
Yeah, I'm here, Ash. Hopefully everybody can hear me clearly. And good evening. We've got some really good content tonight. Ash and I put our heads together, and we've really just crammed this full. So it's not. There's so much on tonight. You're gonna learn a lot.
Okay, so let's get moving forward. So first of all, thank you all for being online with me tonight. Um, Thank you so much for trusting Neil and I with your time, because as we can appreciate, that time is the most precious commodity, and I guarantee that this is going to be one of the best investments that you make, because tonight we're going to be talking about strategy. Now, one person that we have got online is a very knowledgeable person to the name of Mark Alexander. So, Mark, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying the sunshine. And we're going to be talking about just over the next 19 minutes. You'll know exactly how to start a rent-to-rent business on a shoestring budget. More importantly, we'll be talking to you about how to do it quickly and how you can make in excess of £650 per month pure profit from every house that you manage. Now, for the guys that are listening on the other platforms, the guys that are on the webinar, we're going to be taking you through the whole 90 minutes. The guys that are listening on the social media and the other platforms that we've got running live at the moment, I've actually posted the link of where you can actually join the webinar. So if you like that, we're going to be just online for about 10 minutes. And then after that, you're going to have to join us. If you like what you've heard, you're going to have to join us on the webinar, which you can do by seeing the link actually on my profile page or wherever you're watching this live at the moment. So just taking you a little bit forward, so why should you listen to me? It's a very good question. I sometimes ask myself that every day. I'm the best-selling author, which is an Amazon bestseller called Boom, Bust and Back Again. And as you can tell by the name of the book, it's never always been an easy journey for me. Property has never always been an easy journey. I've been involved full-time in property for 16 years as a landlord. So you could say I'm a bit of a veteran who's earned his scars. I run a group of letting agencies for the last 8 years, and I'm a franchisor of a letting agency called Rent Me Now. I'm also a property investor, so I'm consistently purchasing properties. I'm consistently trading properties. And I'm also a mentor to, I think, 89 students. And I've helped hundreds of other people across the UK that are hungry for change to achieve financial freedom. So I've helped a lot of people, and we'll be talking about that shortly. So that's enough about me. So I'm going to pass you now over to Neil, who's going to tell you a little bit about who he is, what he does, but more importantly, why is he here online tonight?
Great, thank you, Ash. Okay, so let's get started. So I actually started Rent to Rent not even too long ago, and I just really went for it all in. Now, initially, the interesting thing is, when I first started doing rent-to-rent trainings and courses with people, I didn't get any success. And it was really only through dropping a lot of the stuff that I had learned and just referring back to my marketing and sales background that I actually then went on to build a portfolio of 37 houses in just 2 years. And you know, you don't have to be a genius to do the math on that when you know what a property cash flows. So we're gonna talk about how to actually achieve that for yourself in the next 90 minutes. And before that, I was actually, you know, in between, I was in the corporate world for a short period of time, and doing a 9 to 5 job wasn't really for me. I did find it a bit of a struggle, and I'm of the opinion that a 9 to 5 is either for you or it's not. There isn't really a middle ground. If you're sat at home and you're in a 9 to 5, you know if that job is right for you or not. And for me, it wasn't right for me at all. So I actually left that to, you know, be an entrepreneur because I wanted more from my life, and I wanted more choice and more freedom. And you can see my mission there is to give you the tools to start and grow a property business so you never have to choose between your livelihood and the people that you love, which was the decision that I had to come to, which is how I got into rent to rent in the first place. But we won't talk about my story today because we haven't got time. This is all about you online.
Now, before we do that, actually, Neil, because that's quite a powerful thing, what I'd like to touch upon is that we've got a lot of people online tonight. So what I'd like you to do is, if you can, just tell us, why are you here? What really interests you? Is it the rent to rent? Is it the strategy? Is it not knowing about how to take control of a property? But more importantly, if you were given this thing called financial freedom, what is it? What's your ideal financial freedom? So is it spending more time with the family? Is it actually just the thought of sacking your boss? Now, would you mind just putting in the comment box just a couple of words as to what your vision of financial freedom is? And let's have a quick look at what some of these answers are. Okay, so someone straight away has put to replace working income. Other people have come in and said that they want to spend time with their families. So it's a real variety, more family time, not having to work, more time with the family, freedom to do what I want, where I want. So we've got, well, freedom seems to be the biggest word that we've seen so far. And that's interesting because freedom comes from someone online has come up, already self-employed, would like my partner to also become self-employed. That's a great reason. There's no reason why anyone can't become self-employed and get involved in property. So that's just a little bit about the why, and let's keep moving on. So, what is this fantastic strategy called rent to rent? Well, you could call it a revolution, because it is a revolution to the property industry in the same way that we could say that iTunes was a revolution for the music industry. Now, that's a pretty large claim. Would you agree? Because what iTunes did for the music industry was something that no one had ever done. And Steve Jobs, God rest his soul, he did a fantastic job. And rent to rent really only came to the forefront as a strategy when lending became difficult after the property crash. So us as investors had to start thinking of new ways of actually being able to acquire properties quickly to generate that cash flow. And it's a grassroots revolution that is being formed by people just like yourself that have decided to make a better life for themselves. So for the guys that are online on the webinar, have told us that they actually want to become self-employed, they want to sack their boss, they want the financial freedom, they want to spend time with their family, they want to go travelling, they want to improve their lives of everyone else in the property food chain. And we'll talk about that shortly. So, Neil, I'm going to now hand this over to you because obviously you've acquired a lot of property in a very short space of time, which basically means that if you can do it, would you agree that everyone else can do it?
Definitely. It's funny because I say this all the time. I'm not a genius. I didn't even do well at school at all. I flunked school. I just made it through my GCSEs and then I was kicked out for my A-level. So I'm by no stretch a clever guy. I just follow what people teach me, mentors, and that's all I do. I follow what I'm told, and you get success, and that's really what I'd recommend to everyone. So let's look at this then. Rent to rent is actually property management. That's what you're doing. It's slightly different to a letting agent, but at the same time, there's a lot of similarities. The biggest difference between all of this is that for a landlord, most are now fed up with a lot of letting agents. Not all, but letting agents have got a bad rep over the years. Some do a good job, some don't do a good job. And when you actually present a rent-to-rent solution to a landlord, they a lot of times will bite your hand off because it's just such a powerful, positive offer that they can't get anywhere else.
Okay, Neil, before I carry you on further from there, one thing I am going to do, I'm going to leave you guys that are watching online, when I say online, on all the other platforms other than the webinar, on a bit of a cliffhanger. Now, if you like the thought of that, what we're going to do, we're going to close all the live feeds everywhere else. But what you'll notice is that there is a link to the rest of the training that we're going to be delivering on for the next 90 minutes. So if you like the thought of that, click the link, get yourself registered, and follow on with the rest of the session. I appreciate that's a bit of a tease, but guys, if you are really interested in this strategy and you want to know more, now is the best time. You've got 90 minutes of pure content. So guys, thank you very much for being with us so far, and I hope that we'll be speaking to you very shortly here on. Take care. Right.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay, so Neil, fantastic. So let's keep moving on, my friend, now. So tell us about this fantastic strategy called rent-to-rent.
Great, let's go to the next slide then, Ash. Okay, so we've got a few more slides, but you only charge the landlord for the service that you provide, not what you say that you're going to provide, like a lot of agents. So you give the landlord a guaranteed rent on a long-term let. So here's one of the first benefits straight away for the landlord. If he wants or she wants guaranteed rent on a long-term basis, they have to pay an insurance premium to the letting agent. With yourselves, they don't have to pay that premium. It's already included within the package.
Okay.
Now, just go through the slides as we go, Ash. Okay, so this is really how it works. What you're going to do is you're going to rent the house from the landlord on a single let basis. So that's the same as if a family of four, a family, 4 kids, for example, went and moved into that house, they would pay a single let price. Now, what you do is you're going to pay the single let price, but you're going to rent it out by the room. And you can see the same, it's a lot of companies now are following this model. So they'll rent it for a low price, and then they're gonna charge a higher price. So why is it so important? Speed, cost, low risk, recurring income. Now the speed of it we're going to talk about on the next slide. When you buy a house in a traditional way, let's say you bought a house and you wanted to turn it into an HMO. That stands for a house of multiple occupancy, which for many of you will know is more profitable than just renting out a single let property, because you're going to get more profit from it. So in terms of speed, you don't have to wait for solicitors at all, or surveyors or lawyers, and pay all of those expensive costs, because all you're going to do is sign a management agreement with the owner of that property. That's it. It can be done in 5 minutes, and you now control that property. The landlord is happy. It really is that fast. Now you're able to grow the portfolio so quickly, and it really is the speed of your ambition. I know people that started at the same time as me, and now I've got 4 or 5 houses, whereas I've got a lot more than that. When it comes to the cost, you don't have to put a deposit in. There's no deposit required at all, and there's no excuses really, because there is very low risk. You just sign the management agreement, and the cost is really what you put into that property in terms of furniture, or if you give it a lick of paint. It's extremely low risk versus other property strategies. Now, let's say that you were to buy a property and do this. So instead of renting it, you're buying it. What would you do if there was a property crash? And both Arsh and I have been through the crash of 2008 with our portfolios, so we know the pain that's involved there. And of course, now it's built back up, but there's pain for a few years back in 2008. Now, with this strategy, it doesn't affect you at all. If those prices come down, you are not affected. Same with interest rates. They're at an all-time low at the moment. It makes no difference if those rates go up or go down. It doesn't affect you at all. I mean, the success here, it requires your time, energy, focus, and determination. That's it.
Okay, but one thing that Neil hasn't touched upon here, and I think which is quite a big point, is that the reason why this is such low risk is that in the management agreement, you could very easily put in a break clause. So, for argument's sake, I know in all my rent-to-rents, I've pretty much got a break clause where I can give a month's break at any point throughout the whole period. Now, you're going to think that that's a bit crazy, but then when you look at it, my risk is actually very low. My risk to that landlord or to that property is 1 month's rent. So whether that be £500, £600, £700, whatever it may be. I've got other properties where I'm paying £1,500. We've done a deal on a property recently where we're paying £3,000. And the reason why I say that is that I prefer to take longer. Agreements. And the reason why I can afford to take longer agreements, very simple, because we've got break clauses in place which allow us to get out should anything happen. Now, you can't do that when you own a property. You can't say to the mortgage company, you know what, sorry guys, I'm going to exit my break. I'm going to exercise my break clause. The mortgage company is going to look at you and think, what break clause? In order for you to get out of that property, you've got to sell it, pay us back before you're able to relieve us of any debt. Does that make sense? So the reason why rent to rent is so popular, it's a very aggressive strategy. It's a very quick strategy. It's a very low risk strategy. So keep moving on.
Okay, great. Now, the other fantastic thing, both Arsh and I follow different property strategies, but the one thing I love about this is that you don't have to hustle every day, like with some other strategies. With this, once you set it up, it is recurring income over and over again. Because once the house is furnished, you put a lick of paint inside of it and whatever else you want to do, that's it. There is nothing else to pay out apart from the bills, which we're going to talk about. But in terms of getting that property ready, that's it. So the money that you invest into it, you start to get back over and over again all the time. And it's just, you know, that's what I love about the strategy. I know I can forecast my cash flow, because one of the big things that scares people about leaving a 9 to 5, and it was the same for me, was that I didn't know how to forecast my cash flow. And I've got bills, everyone's got bills. Now with rent to rent, you can forecast this just like you could with a job, similarly, because you know what you're going to get in. You've got the calculators, you've got the spreadsheets, you know what each property is going to make you, so you know what amount is going to be coming in each month. So why is it important, and what are you doing for landlords? Number one, you're able to help struggling landlords. You will meet these people all the time. Probably 50% of your leads that you sort of get coming in will be from struggling landlords or first-time landlords or accidental landlords. And they just don't know what to do. They really don't understand you know, the property game at all. And when you showcase yourself as an expert, you'll fly. You'll be able to get each property so simple. And you know, the other benefits, you're able to give tenants a faster, cheaper and more personalized service. And you know, for yourself, you're able to transform your financial future in a safe and secure way.
Okay, so there's a question that's coming right about now, Anil, and it's a good one by Anil. First of all, Anil, thanks for being online. And he's asked a question. He goes, "Can the landlord terminate your contract if he knows you're subletting?" Anil, I'm gonna pretty much nip this in the bud. It is not subletting, and the reason why it's not subletting is because you're not using a lease. When you use a lease, you could suggest that it's subletting, but when you're starting to use management agreements, which are the correct form of agreements, it's not subletting. And the reason being, we'll let you into a little secret, is that a management agreement is pretty much the same kind of agreement as a letting agency would use to manage your property on the landlord's behalf. The reason why these are so effective is because they are accepted by pretty much all lenders, otherwise investors wouldn't be able to use letting agents. So technically speaking, as a rent-to-rent operator, you could say that we're glorified letting agents, but we've got a more of a vested interest. We've got a vested interest on the fact that we're making a lot more money than what we would as if we're a letting agency. Does that make sense? Hopefully that's just clarified that for you. So keep moving on, Neil. Why is now the most important time?
Great. Let's go to the next slide. Tenants at the moment, I've never seen anything like this. I'm amazed. Right now, especially, is just such an explosion that I've never seen. We're getting requests from Spain, Germany, Greece, Poland, Slovenia, Slovakia, and a dozen more countries every single day are coming through the account, making contact, just asking for rooms. So many people are just flocking to the UK, and I don't know if you've been noticing, but houses are not being built as fast as people are coming in. Do you want to go to the next slide, Arsh? I think we've got some stuff on this. And the other thing, look at this. Home ownership in England is the lowest level in 30 years, and it's just dropping and dropping all the time because people are getting squeezed out. Wages are not going up in terms of the actual amount that people are earning as fast as property is going up. They're not in comparison to one another, and it's pricing people out of the market. And let's not even talk about London, which is just absolutely crazy.
Okay. Another thing that you've got to take into consideration, that obviously, I think you've pretty much covered it there, to be fair, my friend. Sorry.
Okay. I mean, look at this. The average house price. I mean, these are all from the media, you know, or other credible sources. This is not just me and Arsh just making stuff up here. You know, the average house price is nearly 9 times the average salary. So it's just, you know, so many people now. It's virtually impossible. Especially, I mean, I live in Coventry. For those of you who know Coventry in the West Midlands, Arsh is from Wolverhampton. So the Midlands is not known to be a very affluent area of the country. So every day, Arsh and I will speak to people who are, you know, everyday people in normal jobs. And I can tell you the same conversation happens day in and day out. Everybody now, the majority of people that are young people are generation rent. There's no possible way for them to buy a property. It's physically impossible because the prices are just so high. And I've just sold a flat just last week. Just sold a flat that I bought it for 60. Just sold it for 84.5. Now this flat, even at 84.5, people could not afford it. I had, you know, couples and all sorts. They had to combine their income. Certain people still were struggling. We didn't have any young people view it. Of the 15 people that viewed it, they were all mid-30s, late 30s onwards. It's difficult. So now you've got to ask yourself the question, the people then that are under 30 or under 35, what are they doing if they're not buying? There's only one option. They're renting. Let's go on to the next slide, Arsh. Okay, I think we've sort of talked about that, the interest rates. Yeah, next. Okay, so here is the really unique thing and why it's a gold mine right now if you're doing rent to rent. There is no dominant player in the market, which is crazy. If you think about any other industry, there is at least one dominant player, if not 4 or 5. In the rent to rent market, there isn't anybody. It's all small entrepreneurs that are doing this in cities and towns all up and down the country. Now, if you look at why this is so powerful, when iTunes actually launched their product, they completely revolutionized the industry. But why was that? They didn't do anything that was that special. But what they did was they offered a much better service. Now, how do we relate this to rent then? Rent to rent is basically offering the landlords a letting agency type deal, but with about 10 times the benefits. Now that's why it's so revolutionary and why people are flocking to doing this strategy now. Even I have, and I know it's the same for Arsh, we have calls all the time from letting agents asking us if we can help them and how are you doing it, can you teach us? Because there's a lot of letting agents now that are even considering rent to rent because it is so powerful as a strategy. So now is the time to get into this and to learn it and build up that portfolio. Because the beautiful thing is once you've got a portfolio established, it's very difficult for someone to move in and try and dominate that market if you're already in there. And we are right at the start of this now, the rent to rent curve. We're right at the beginning. So now is the time to really get yourself established. Okay, so it's a better service for landlords and for the tenants. Tenants absolutely love this service. Now, I've got a dedicated property manager. His name is Joe. He's on the end of the phone if tenants have any issues. But of course, we systemize everything anyway. So they've got user guides. They know what to do if anything goes wrong. It's just, this is such a good service for the tenants and for the landlord. One of the biggest complaints that tenants say to me is that they'd be waiting weeks and weeks for a letting agent to get back to them, or they'd be speaking to a new letting agent every time. It's not the case with rent to rent if there's a dedicated property manager, because that's their job. Their job is to look after the tenant, to fill the rooms by doing viewings, do a little bit of paperwork, and just to maintain the property. So again, as long as that property, you've done it to a good standard at the start, maintenance is very simple. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so let's talk about the finance now then. Number one, for the landlords, there's no fees. There isn't, these 7%, 10%, 12.5%, 15% HMO management fees. There's zero. So straight away for that landlord, he is, or she, I say he a lot of time because all of my landlords are male, which I don't know if that's a coincidence or a reflection of property ownership, but all of my landlords are male. So there's no fees for them. Straight away, they're getting more money than they would do through an agent with more services. Now, how does it actually work then in terms of how you sat at home would make the money? The profit is actually between the difference from the rent, so the rent you collect from the tenants, and the cost that you pay out. So the costs are the rent you pay the landlord, council tax. Now you can actually avoid that if you're renting to students. So I was quite hesitant to go into the student market, but now that I have done, I'm very glad that I did, because that property makes £150 more across the board, each one of those student properties, because we don't have to pay council tax. Then you've got water, electricity, gas, TV license, broadband, and if you include a cleaner, you'll have a cleaning cost as well. So those are your costs. Have we got an example on the next slide, Arsh? Yeah, okay, great. So let's say, for example, you were to have let's say a 4-bedroom property with 2 reception rooms. What you would do then is you would keep the 4 bedrooms and you would turn one of the reception rooms into a bedroom. Because when you've got people sharing, they don't need 2 reception rooms. They only really need the one. And if you're in London, they don't even need a reception room. They can, most of the time, people are happy just because of lack of space to live in their own room, and that's fine, and have a kitchen. But let's take this example: 4 bedrooms, 1 reception, which is now a bedroom. So you've got 5 rooms. £500 a room gives you £2,500 income. You pay the landlord £1,250. Utilities are usually around £300 for this example. They're not usually that high unless you've got a very large HMO. So it's usually about £300, £350 utilities. So your total cost £1,850, and then your profit £650. But actually, in this case, your profit would be more like £950 because we've overestimated the utilities there. So you'd be looking at a minimum £650 profit, if not £950. Now, thinking about that, how many of those do you need to replace your income right now? If you're getting, let's say £750, right in the middle there. For some people, it's only 2 or 3. You only need 2 or 3 of these properties, which would take up a couple of hours a week of your time. So it's quite nice. Next slide, Arsh.
Okay, now, but before we go any further, so why don't you let's just quickly do this. So on the basis that each house would produce a profit of £650 a month. Now, when we go back to this point of financial freedom, how many properties would you require to get you to your point of financial freedom? So look at the first figure that you looked at. So let's say it's £5,000 a month, which means that you'd need on average around 9 properties. How many properties would you need to get to financial freedom? So one person straight away is coming in at 12. Okay, so got quite expensive lifestyle. Other people say that they need 4. So everyone's different because everyone's got their own figure. So question is, what's your figure? Right, someone's put, to get to financial freedom, I would need 15. Okay, that's interesting. Other people come in with 8 and 3. So okay, cool. 5 to leave the job. 10. So there's a real mixed bag. So anything from 2 to 3, right up to 15 so far. Okay, so we'll take a couple of questions whilst we're here. So Kylie's come in and said, on average, how much is the average property manager to take into account costs? So how is it that you structure the process with your property manager, Neil?
Okay, yeah, it's a good question. Now, the great thing about this is you put your property manager on a performance-based pay scale. So what does that mean in monetary terms then? What I did was I built up to my first 8, I think it was either 8 or 10 properties, and then I took on a property manager. So what you would do is you would pay them a basic wage, and then you would pay them a commission for each property. So for example, you might pay them £50 per month for managing each property. You then may pay them £50 for every room that they fill within that property. And then you might give them another bonus, for example, of £250 a month if they keep the voids below a certain level. So in my case, it would be 0 voids or 1 void, £250 a month, a bonus, and then each property each room, that's void would lose £50 from that. So if there was 5 voids across the portfolio, then there would be 0 bonus. So that's really the best way that I would recommend that you do that with a property manager. Yeah, so good question.
Okay, so just keep moving on then. So what are the 4 simple steps? So we've got them defined here as find, control, furnish and fill. So we're going to go through these in greater detail. So first of all, is the most important one, is finding landlords. So Neil?
Yes. Okay. Now we could talk for hours on this. That's one thing that I'm very good at, is sourcing leads. And it doesn't matter who it is that comes and sits down with me and says, you know, I've done all these strategies that someone has taught me on this course or that course, and I haven't got any leads and all this. It doesn't matter who it is. When they sit down, give it a couple of days and they've got leads, because there are just some really simple strategies that you have to do and follow, and that's how you get the leads in. A lot of the time, people are teaching stuff about sourcing rent-to-rent properties that are just completely inaccurate, and you'll never get anywhere with it. You know, there's an absolute, as you can see on the slide here, there's an ocean of accidental landlords or first-time landlords, or you know, that they are everywhere. You've just got to know how to actually find them. So the first one is just speaking to everybody you know. So word of mouth will get you there. Property networking events is an interesting one, which can be hit and miss. It will work for you, but usually at property networking events, a lot of the landlords will be quite clued up already. So if they're going to property networking events, they're going to know what they're doing in some cases. So you won't always find the best leads there, but you will find some people. Gumtree is another one, placing a simple free advert, but you've got to know what to say on that advert. There's a specific sort of text that you put in that brings those leads to you. And you usually get about 3 per week, 2 to 3 per week if you do that. Whereas if you just post an advert, usually you'll get 0. Spare room is another strategy that many of the students follow, which is a data mining strategy, which is there's ways to see when rooms have been sat on the market for a long time. And if it's a live-out landlord, which is the complete opposite of your live-in landlord, which means that they actually live there and they're just renting a spare room in their house. If it's a live-out landlord, then they're an HMO landlord, and they do this professionally. Now, a lot of times they won't know what they're doing themselves. They'll have absolutely no clue, and if they've got 2 or 3 rooms out of 4 or 5 sat empty, they're losing a lot of money. So just you making that proposition of a rent-to-rent deal with them straight away it's just going to, straight away they'll take that offer. It's very rare that they're not interested in hearing it. And these are just a couple of the strategies. We've got some really powerful ones that just source so many leads for you, but we haven't got time to go through everything on this slide now. Let's go to the next slide, Arsh. Now here's how you proposition it to the landlord. Number 1, you offer a guaranteed rent. Number 2, a long-term let, because these are 2. I mean, straight away, these things here are what would be known as objections. So they're concerns that landlords have. Number 1, they're worried about not getting paid their rent. So if they rent to a normal family or a group, what's stopping that group from trashing the house or running out owing rent? Or worse still, not running out and owing rent. That way the landlord would have to evict. So you're offering guaranteed rent, you're offering a long-term rent as well. That's the other great thing. They want that longevity, knowing that it's going to be long-term. No management fees, more money in their pocket. And the other one, professional tenants only. Now, it's up to you. We have 5 different strategies that we talk about. And one of them is professional tenants. You've got boutique. There's a lot of different strategies. Now, straight away, if you tell the landlord that you're only going to rent to professional tenants, they are going to know, okay, their concerns and their worries will be diminished, because they're not worried now about, oh, someone's going to come in or a student's going to come in and ruin my property and things like that. And now one of the things I say is, you know, a lot of our tenants are relocating from overseas. So we have a lot of Spanish engineers, for example, who come to Coventry because it's an engineering city. And some of these engineers are getting paid 60, 70, 80,000 pounds. Now, where do they live? A lot of them can't just move into a flat or something like that straight away, even though they can afford it, because they don't have all the referencing and all the backup and the guarantors and things. So these are the sort of people that we'll take on if the company says that, you know, these are good tenants. So you've just got to convey all of this to the landlord. and then a weekly cleaner as well. Now, the key with a weekly cleaner is twofold here. Number one, if you don't keep the property clean all the time, the tenants probably won't either. And over time, you'll need to spend more at the end of the year on refurbishments and painting and repairs. But if you keep it clean every 2 weeks, then at the end of the year, there won't be much difference. There might be a few bits of wear and tear, but nowhere near. So it's a false economy not to have a cleaner. The other thing the cleaner does is they double up as a bit of a spy for you. So they can keep their eye on the property, make sure that that people aren't living there that shouldn't be living there. And we've only had this once or twice, where people have moved in boyfriends or girlfriends, and straight away we just go around and ask them to leave. They're not supposed to be in there. So the cleaner does a great job of being your eyes and ears as well in the property. Got another slide, Ash? Yeah. Okay, now these are two other great benefits. Just 2 weeks ago, I took on a new property, and I went in, and it was not nice. Some of you might have seen the video I put on Facebook. It was a YouTube video of a little tour of this house, and if you remember, it was not in a good condition at all. Grey walls, very dark. The light bulbs were so dim that the room you couldn't see hardly anything. The curtains were dark, the carpet's dark. And straight away what we've done over the last couple of weeks is we've just painted it all a really light colour, new curtains, we've got those windows clean so there's a lot more natural light coming in, we painted everything up, and we've actually furnished that property as well with good quality furniture. Now what that does straight away is it increases the value of that property by under anyone's book. Even if a surveyor went in there, they're going to say, if you took it from a really bad looking property with damage into a nice property that looks really beautiful, even like a show home in some cases, that increases the value of that property, and the landlord now doesn't have to spend that money either. So there's so many benefits here. Straight away, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so Arsh, do you want to jump on?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're just going to quickly mention something that we're running here. So over the last couple of weeks, both Neil and I have been inundated because every time we take a property on, we upload it into our social media forums, and we're letting people know what we're doing. And people have been contacting us, so well, is there any way that we can come along to see these? So we've opened up something called the Rent-to-Rent Masterclass, which is something where we'll show you how to get leads, literally as of tomorrow, using our proven letter templates that you can send out with your logos to landlords that you find on places like Spare, Rightmove and Country. We're also going to be showing you the terminology to use, which you then make landlords an offer that they can't refuse. How to get them to say yes to your proposal every time, because it's a great deal for them and a profitable deal for you. Now, that's just something that we'll be looking at shortly. Now, we've got a lot of questions on the rent-to-rent strategy, but one thing that people are asking about is, what about the contracts? Where do we find the contracts? Well, here's the beauty of it, is that you don't have to go out and find the contracts, because by talking to both Neil and I, we're happy to share the contracts to workshop delegates, which save you thousands of pounds in legal costs, as well as time and frustration by receiving all the contracts, agreements and paperwork that you need to start the rent-to-rent journey the very next day. And we'll also be talking about why you never need to worry about VAT, no matter how big you build to a rent-to-rent empire, and other tax secrets that mean that you keep more of your hard-earned cash. We'll be talking about how to jump from 0 to 1, then 1 to 5 properties in a year, just working at the weekend. Now, one lady asked a question. I apologise if it is late. So Jay's come and says, I'm pretty time poor. Can I get a rent-to-rent deal and outsource management? Would I have to inform the landlord? Okay, so we'll be showing you how to get from 0 to 1 properties very quickly, and then how to jump and scale it from 1 to 5 properties within a year. Now, one of the guys that came on one of our workshops, I think it was in February 2015, I talk about it quite a lot, but from February 2015 to February 2016, does anyone know how many properties he took on? Just out of curiosity, so for argument's sake, working on the basis that he started with pretty much no property knowledge, how many properties do you think he took on? Okay, Daniel's coming with quite a high figure. He said 40. It's not as high as that, Daniel, admittedly, and it's not as low as 12, as Kylie and Jamal have quoted. It was actually 23 properties within a year, which is just under 2 a month. And bear in mind that he had no property experience, went and turned this into a scalable business. And he replaced his salary pretty quickly. We'll also be showing you about the numbers. Where's your gold mine area? Where to start pitching, where not to start pitching, how to look for it, how do the figures work, at what point do you say no to the landlord. We'll be showing you how to accurately predict how much money you'll make from each property after all the costs. Because people always talk about the basis that, yes, after you've taken out the utilities, that's your cash flow, but we haven't taken into consideration some other costs. So we'll be showing you, by utilising our spreadsheets that we've created, how to make this a very quick and simple process, and how to turn away the ones that aren't making money, so that you can carry on the basis of searching for properties that will make money. Now, Kylie came and asked a question. She goes, what area was he in? Now, here's the beauty. He actually did this in Croydon in London. Now, people say that this strategy doesn't work in London because the properties are too expensive. Oh, the landlords are going to give me the property. It's such a buoyant market. But I can even introduce you to person after person after person after person who have all gone out and done this in London and replace their income as a result of what they've learned. So Mark Knight has put, you talk about taking on normal houses. What about HMO rules like alarms and fire doors? Now, that's a great question, Mark, because technically speaking, what you're suggesting is that there's 2 types of HMOs which we have to go through. There's a licensed and unlicensed HMO. Now, if it's a 2-story property, it's unlicensed, which means that it doesn't require the fire door or the fire alarms that you state. When it becomes a licensable HMO, that's when it requires the fire doors and the fire alarm. And then Derek's put, okay, so he's put, how can I do this in the UK whilst living in another country? Admittedly, Derek, it may be a slightly bit of a challenge, but believe it or not, once you've got the first one under management and you've created your systems, the rest can very easily be done from a wide berth. Like Neil spends, now Neil, are you online still?
Yes.
So talk to me about what do you do in the year, because where do you spend your time?
I split my time between the UK for the spring and summer, and then I spend my autumns and winter in California or somewhere in wherever I'm traveling, Middle East, Southeast Asia, wherever I might be. So that's how I do it, because what I did is I systemized my business so that my wife and I can live in California for a few months each year, because like many of you, we don't like the freezing cold weather here. And it used to be a dream. We used to laugh about that, saying that one day, in the winter, we'll just leave. And, you know, friends and family and everyone else used to think that it was a running joke. But now it's not a joke anymore. So,
okay, fantastic. So Neil does this, and he does this pretty much from abroad. So he naturally has got Joe on the ground as well. So that's one way that you can do it. Now we do run it, and it is 1997 plus VAT, and we do have a capacity of 35 people. We keep it relatively small, and we've already got 14 people booked on, meaning that there's only 21 spaces left. Now, moving on, Neil. What about furniture?
Yeah, great. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So let's talk
Okay.
about what.
Sorry, Neil, do you want to carry on?
Yeah, yeah. If there's some slides on the furniture. Yeah, just after this. So, okay, here's what you're going to need then for furnishing each room. Firstly, you're going to need a double bed, or in some cases, there's actually a little trick I can teach you now as well, and it's called a 3/4 length bed. Now you can put a 3/4 length in a room that's a double room, but it's, you know those rooms that are slightly smaller than a double, but they're too big to be a single. What do you do when you can't fit a double bed and a bedside table in? Well, what you do is you put in a 3/4 length bed. That's what goes in there, and people do not know the difference. Once that duvet and all the rest of it is on there, it looks like a normal size double. You need a wardrobe. You need a chest of drawers if it will fit in the room. A chair and a desk is what I always recommend, because professionals and students and most people, they want some sort of a little desk that they can sit down and work from. You need the light, so a nice ceiling light. You need a lock for the door, even if that's just a thumb lock. We don't use thumbs, but even if it's just a thumb lock. You need nice curtains and some artwork. Now, the great thing about all of this is it doesn't actually cost a huge amount of money, especially the artwork. We've got a little trick for that as well, so you can get canvases and all sorts for nothing really. Okay, so that's what you need in each room. The kitchen, apart from the white goods such as the washing machine and the fridge freezer, you need a few other things, so cups and glasses, pots and pans, crockery, and the cutlery. So they are your main things that you'll need for the kitchen. You might also buy a toaster, a kettle, and a microwave. I just went to Tesco today and spent £60 on a microwave, and which was 35, just a basic one, a kettle and a toaster combo, which was £25. And that's really all you need in terms of that. It's not a lot of money at all. Communal then, you need a nice big TV, and the great thing about TVs is the price has crashed on these things now. I've just bought a couple of 50-inch TVs in the last 2 weeks now, and they were hardly anything. They're about £300 a piece, so they're not even expensive now, and that's HD with all the gadget, all the latest stuff with it and the internet and everything. So it's amazing. 2 sofas, and you don't need to spend a lot of money on sofas. I've heard all sorts of things coming my way about sofas and how people are recommended to spend £1,000 and all of this. We never spend more than a couple £100, and that's 2 big sofas in the rooms. We never spend more than that. Dining room table, again, just picked one up over the weekend. £50, big, solid, 6-seater wooden dining room table. So you're probably starting to build up a picture now. It's not as much money as you would expect. Okay, so we're going to talk about speed, cost, and systemization next then. Okay, so you've got different options. It depends again, because we can't account for every one of you on the webinar tonight. We don't know what your strategy is going to be. For some of you, you might want to do boutique. For others, you might want to do LHA or professionals or workers or specialists. We don't know what your strategy is. So let's just talk about IKEA, which is your basic stuff, versus a boutique. Now, IKEA is very fast, it's very reliable, and it's scalable because you know all the time what furniture you want. And actually, when you come on the course, we give you these mind maps. And if you like mind maps like I do, you'll love this because it shows you room by room, item by item, what to buy, what's the best price for each market. So you've got that mind map, and you just go off and you just purchase the furniture. It's brilliant. Now, if you're going for a more boutique approach, this is very different. You will spend a little bit more money on boutique because you're going to be charging a lot more money. So people are going to expect are going to expect higher quality. Okay, next part. You've guaranteed the rent for the landlord. Now you've got empty rooms. So just like the landlord would have had problems in having empty rooms, that's a big problem for them. Now you've got to fill those rooms. Now what you do is you're going to use the accounts and the sources that we teach you to actually go out, and you're going to source those tenants very simply. And the reason I say very simply and easily is because you wouldn't have started sourcing the properties unless you'd already gone through our system and we checked your area. We checked your gold mine area and ran all the test adverts to make sure there was a demand. If there wasn't a demand, you wouldn't be doing it in that area. So you just follow the system and you won't have any problems at all. So it's very simple. Then we're going to show you all about crafting the right ad, putting the right adverts in the right places, and that's how you source your tenants. Next step is actually creating and crafting that perfect advert. Now, luckily I studied copywriting, so my adverts are pretty good, and when people copy them, they say straight away they're getting double or triple the amount of leads. Some people are getting 10 times the amount of inquiries in a day, because they're following the system. They're getting good photographs. So the actual room, they know how to dress it and photograph it properly. The kitchen, the communal space. Okay, so here's some of the things that you want to be looking at. Why would someone want to live in your room? What I always say to people when I'm talking marketing or consultancy on marketing is, you've got to get your mind into the mind of your tenant or your customer. So it doesn't matter what business you're in, for those of you online, it makes no difference. You've always got to put your mind into that of your customer. As soon as you do that, you've now got an advantage. Because what most people do, and it's the same when I'm working in sales or marketing, people just don't stop and think. Have you ever had a bad salesman that just tries to sell you something, and they've not even stopped to ask you a single question? That's the sign of a bad salesman, when they don't ask you any questions and they're just pitching you. And a lot of people do that when they're renting rooms as well. They just keep pitching. And the tenant has probably got questions that they want to ask. And the key is just to stop and let them, ask questions, and to listen and to ask them questions as well. So you've got to make sure that you show all the things that they're looking for. So especially younger people, they want transport links, they want parking, close distance to work, gym, restaurants, pubs, cafes. These are the things they're looking for. Okay, now where do you post your adverts then? Number one that I would recommend is spare room. So that is your number one source. It's going to bring in 80% of your tenants if you're in a professional market. And again, we have to vary this and teach this on the day depending on which tenant group you're focused toward. Gumtree is another one. Facebook groups. Now, I actually created my own Facebook group so that I could source tenants easily and without having to pay. And then you've got Easy Roommate as well, which is another source. Okay, and just coming back to Masterclass then, you will replace, your salary in just 12 months if you just follow this system. If I can build up to that amount within 2 years, I can't see any reason why people can't get a few within a year, and that's even doing it on the weekend. And just to emphasize this a little bit more, me and Arsh have had people come to us that said, oh, I've done 2 or 3 different rent-to-rent calls, nothing works, I've tried all this stuff. We've sat down with them and we've just taught them all the basics. We're not doing anything, special here. We're teaching the basics of our course that we've developed over years. And what we're doing, we're just sitting down and we're saying, take this step, take that step. And it's a science. This isn't magic. It's you know, it is science. You just follow a step by step by step process. Take the action, get the results. It's not, especially when you actually learn all the negotiation stuff that I teach as well, which is included in this. It's not something you'll get elsewhere. So I actually include all the negotiations within this, and it's tailored towards the landlords. So it's a no-brainer. What else then? You'll find houses to manage at a touch of a button, as well as crowds of tenants within minutes of your ad going live. So this can replace your salary in just a couple of hours work a day. If that. I mean, for me now, you would expect me to be spending a lot of time. I don't even spend a couple of hours a week. You know, when you systemize it properly. Okay, what else? Build your rent-to-rent portfolio at the speed of your desires with the underground secrets to find landlords that desperately need your help, and how to turn this lead source tap on whenever you need it, so you can grow your portfolio around your other commitments. Okay, so we'll give you our templates as well. That's the key thing. It's actually getting those templates, getting them out with your logo on so that landlords can actually find you. Make those landlords an offer they can't refuse. That's how you get the business. You just got to keep going, keep going, keep going, follow the system, and just do the exact proposal that I'll teach you. And then you're going to get the yeses. You'll get the yes time after time. And the more you practice, the more yeses you're going to get. Okay, at the beginning, let's be honest here. You're not going to, well, some people do, but let's just be conservative and say you might not walk into the first house and get a deal straight away. Some people do, but not everyone does. But here's the interesting thing. The more you practice and the more we go over the objections and you go over your notes, the better you're going to get. So that eventually you're going to walk into every house, and if you go through the process, the negotiations triad, you're going to get these results time after time. Because the great thing about the negotiations triad is that each step is like closing a door behind you. You can't go from one step to the next step without closing that door and having agreement. So if you're getting to the end, then there's a deal there. And that is really the beauty of it. As Arsh mentioned, you're going to get all of the legal management contracts and all the other documents that we spent thousands of pounds and took us months. I think it was about 6 or 7 months back and forth getting all these agreements made up. They're just brilliant. They've been made by professional property solicitors, passed back and forth between solicitors where they, you know, because what you don't do with a solicitor is you don't just give it to one to work on. You give it to one to create, and then you pass it to another one so they can find loopholes in it. And then once that's been cleaned up, you repeat, and until you get a fantastic contract, basically. Okay, the other thing, the great thing is, because we're not letting agents and we're property managers, we don't have to pay VAT. So it's another perk, another huge bonus. But if you think of a letting agent that might get £100 a month for a property, they have to pay VAT as well, whereas we're not. We're going to make £650 up to £1,000 on a property, and we don't have to pay VAT. All we have to pay is the corporation tax within the limited company that you'll set up. That's it. Or if you don't want to do the limited company structure, you want to do self-assessment, which is another thing we'll show you, then you'll pay whatever your tax rate is on the profit. So you've got so many options here. And again, we're going to show you how to jump from 1 to 5 properties within a year. So again, we're keeping this conservative for you because we don't want to make any overzealous claims here and then have you be disappointed. So yes, I did very well. A lot of other people have jumped to, you know, double-digit figures very quickly, but we want to keep it conservative so that you've got a small goal to go towards. And 5 properties within a year is not difficult. I can assure you of that. Sometimes if you just follow it, you'll source 5 in a week. Okay, you might not get all of them, but you might source 5 deals in a week. And as I mentioned at the beginning, you can actually predict how much money you'll make from the property. So you can minimize that risk of leaving your job and worrying about how much my income will be, because you're going to know through using the calculators and the spreadsheets. Okay,
So
Arsh?
here's what we're going to do. So I mentioned earlier that it was not 1997, but because we love action takers, and because we've only got a few spaces left, I think we've got 20 odd spaces left, we're actually dropping it down just for this evening to 997. Here's the added bonus. Only for people listening to this webinar, we're going to allow you to bring a life or business partner for free. And we're so confident that you're going to get so much value out of it. We're actually going to give you a no risk 100% money back guarantee, which means that if you do decide to come on the workshop, you can attend the first day of the course, and if you're not completely and utterly satisfied, all you have to do is say so, and I'll give you a full refund. No questions asked, no hassle for forms to fill out, no problem whatsoever. So we are running it on the 15th and 16th in October. So it's a couple of weekends away. The location is, the jury's in Birmingham, but I'll confirm all that via on email. And all you've got to do to register is follow that link, so bit.ly/R2R-now. And just so that you know, here's some of the people. So, we haven't just thought of this and think, well, what can we do and how can we get people on? The learning doesn't just stop in the room. So you'll have pretty much a lot of support from us, because we've got a group which is only open to workshop attendees. And here's a lady called Susie Bates. She signed up her first rent-to-rent. Well, she's now on quite a few different rent-to-rents. 6-bed Victorian house, fully furnished. After all costs, it's going to cash flow £865 a month. Doesn't need a lot of work. And here's, we've got lots of other people similar to Susie. And that's going to be making a staggering, she's got another property here. She's now got 4 properties in Leicester, which is now giving her a staggering £3,000 cash flow per month. And just so that you know, here's another chap that I've been working with for for a short while now. And after years of training with other education companies, Girish has now taken on 6 rent-to-rent houses in just 3 months. He now makes £4,320 monthly. And on the basis of that, he has now given up his job in the medical profession. So, the guys in the medical profession get paid well. But as a result of Girish being able to do this, he's now got more time, which means that he's now getting more properties, and he's getting more involved in property. So, just to repeat what we said, all you've got to do to get yourself booked on is very simply go to bit.ly/R2R-now. It is on the 15th and 16th of October in Birmingham, and the special offer that we're doing specifically for this webinar is $997, and you're allowed to bring a business partner for free. So what will this do for you? What we're going to be teaching you is going to be all the knowledge and all the tools for you to enjoy your £3,250 monthly cash flow, managing from just 5 properties in your spare time. We're going to be giving you the simple 4-step system which gives you a regular and reliable income so that you can confidently quit your job. You're going to learn the secrets that are working right now from rent-to-rent veterans that have earned their scars. You're going to get to replace your job salary in just 12 months when you use our easy to master rent-to-rent system. And we'll be showing you how to find houses to manage at the touch of a button, as well as a crowd of tenants within minutes of your ad going live. And this will replace your salary on just a couple of hours of work a day. and we'll be showing you how to build your rent-to-rent portfolio at the speed of your desires. So like I said, Neil said that we'll be showing you how to get to 0 to 5. But in exceptional cases like JC, if you've got the desire to go faster, you can get up to 23 properties, you can get up to 24 properties, even more. It depends on how much time have you got to spend on it, how many calls you're going to make, how many leads you're going to convert. So we'll be showing you how to build your rent-to-rent portfolio at the speed of your desires with the underground secrets to find landlords that desperately need your help, how to find the lead source tap on whatever you need so that it will help you grow your portfolio around your other commitments. And we'll be showing you how to get leads tomorrow using the proven letter templates. So again, the key and the secret is in the documents and the systems that we've created. And you get access to all this, so you don't need to worry about that. You get access to the contracts, the agreements, the paperwork, so that you can start your journey pretty much the very next day. And again, I'm just going to reiterate the money back guarantee. We're so confident that everyone that has been on our workshop has taken away massive value, that if you don't think you're happy with it at the end of day one, all you've got to do is come up to me and say, you know, I don't think this is for me, and we'll part company. No questions asked, no hassles or forms to fill in. So, whilst we'll leave that slide up, I'm going to quickly go through some of the questions. So, Roger's come in with a question, and he goes, if we get, say, properties, then you then find yourself being run ragged by 20 or so tenants. Roger, the answer to that is all depends on how selective you are with your tenants, what systems you put in place so that you're not getting run ragged, you're not getting called out at 2 o'clock in the morning by your tenants. But that is all down to systemization, so it shouldn't be. Now, Roger, just so that you know, I've got at last count, I think it's 650 tenants. Now, Roger, from your submission of having 20 tenants and being running around ragged, can you imagine what 650 tenants would do to you? You'd never sleep. But here, my whole portfolio is fully managed and I don't have to do a single thing. It's fully systemized, so it can be done. So Chris says, I can't make those dates. You run the course on alternative later dates. Here's what we're going to do, Chris. So there is an option, if you can't attend in person, you can actually live stream the event, the whole event, from the comfort of your own home. So if you can't make it to Birmingham, for whatever reason, you still get access to all the documents. It's like you're watching it now, but also you get to see what's happening live in the room. The cost of the course still remains the same because you still get access to all the documents, all the back-end support, as well as everything. You get to ask all your questions throughout the day, and they get answered live. You get to watch it as you do. This is the last course that we're running for 2016. So we will be running another one in 2017, but the one that we're running now will be recorded too. So we're going to have it filmed and it will be recorded. So those that can't make it, if you'd like to, what you can do is reserve it on this special price, get a copy of the recording, and then also attend the next one in person should you wish to do so. But as you may have the recording, you may then decide to go out and act on that. So don't feel like there isn't an option for you. So the recording is definitely available for anyone that can't make it. So it seems to be a popular weekend. So someone said that we've got a birthday that weekend. So just having a quick look at some of the questions. So Jamal puts, I want 5 in less than 6 months. Is this possible? Jamal, anything is possible depending on your determination and your ability to go out, make the calls, convert them. Remember, we've been talking about how many letters you're going to put out will determine how many calls you get. Again, it is a numbers game. Now, Kylie's put, what about Article 4? Now, obviously, unfortunately, under Article 4, If it's an existing HMO, then you haven't got an issue. But if you are looking to create a HMO in Article 4 area, you would have to adhere to planning legislation, which again takes time. But there are ways around it. It's not saying that it won't get approved. It just it may take time. But as a result of you getting the benefit of planning permission in an Article 4 location, you will also be increasing the value of the property. So that's another plus for the landlord. Okay, so Daniel says, what if we have questions and can't make it? Would we be able to contact you guys if you get access to recordings? Yes, so if you can't make it in to the workshop, but you want to purchase the recording, what you can do is reserve your space for the recording by following the link. And we'll send you all the documents via email, as you would as if you were attending the course. You'll get the recording once it's been fully edited. And like I said, we add you into the Facebook group. And not only that, you also get access to both, if you get access to both Neil and I, you'll have both of our mobile numbers so that you can come back to us. So if you've got a property, and you want to know how to structure it, you can give Neil and I a call and we can talk you through it. Right, so Jamal has put, how do you find what area is Article 4? Best thing to do, and the best website that I always recommend, is just go on the RLA website, which is the Residential Landlords Association. It's got a list of pretty much all the Article 4 areas in there. So just going through some of the questions from earlier on. So Vicky's asked a question, how do you ensure that utilities stay around the 250 to 350 per month mark? Now, Vicky, there are systems in place to allow you to do that. So for argument's sake, there's lots of monitoring processes that you can utilise to make sure that tenants are staying within that certain bracket. The average is £50 per room per month within a HMO, so that allows you to kind of calculate the cost when you're taking on a property. So Saritha's asked a question, so what you're saying is that someone can acquire a single let, turn it into a HMO and rent it out and make profit from it. That's exactly what we're saying, because that's what a HMO is now. Depending if you're in an Article 4 area, you require planning permission, or if you're in a selective licensing area, these are a couple of things that we talk about, and that's part of the legislation that we go through to make sure that you stay on the right side of the law. So I'm just going through some of the questions. So Jamal, will it work in almost any area in London? Well, we're showing people, in actual fact, what you can do is actually take it one step further from a rent to rent. So you can actually even run it as a service accommodation. So instead of running it as renting it out per month, you can actually run it rent it out by the evening, which will give you, again, further cash flow. So that's just something to bear in mind. So okay, so right, so Mr. Adu says, can we get access to all the documents, etc. this week before buying the recording? So what you can do is that you can reserve your place straight away, Mr. Adu, and if you wanted to, I can send you the documents pretty much as soon as tomorrow. One thing that we could do also is give you access to the recording or the audio clip from the last workshop, which will then give you ample or pretty much all the information that you need to start this tomorrow. So that's just an idea for you. So yes, that is possible. Okay, so Shabs has come in and he goes, Arsh, he goes, what are the risks? What if one room isn't rented for a few weeks? What does that do? Does that not eat into your margins? Naturally, yes, it would, Shads, but when you take a room on, you're not just working on the basis that one room is going to be your profit. When you look at your calculations, this is the key to it. The figures is the key, because you need to know what is your break-even point. If your break-even point is 4.5 rooms out of 5, I would always suggest not to take that property. The reason being is that no property is occupied 4.5 times out of 5 100% of the time. It's impossible. No property is occupied 100% of the time, 100% of the time. It is impossible. It's statistically, unless you've got a group of people that's willing to take the property on for pretty much the lifetime of the tenancy. And that's very, very rare. So you have to take into consideration stuff like voids, maintenance, bad debt. But once you put those calculations in, they're your contingency plan. So don't worry, we can show you that. So Daniel has put, can you pay in instalments? Now let's just have a quick look at this. We've pretty much got 1, 2, 3, 4, well, 3 whole weekends up until the course. So if that's something that is of interest to you, Daniel, yes, we'll do that. We can split it to 3 payments. So it'll have to be a 400, 300, and 300, or 397, 3, and 3. And the first one would, the whole amount would have to be paid prior to the event. So that is something that we can help you with as well. So what happens if you do nothing? You have nothing to worry about. You don't have to worry about learning anything new. You don't have to worry about taking any action. But you don't have to worry about getting out of your comfort zone as well, because you haven't done anything. Which also means that you won't change your life, and your life will not change. Your frustrations at work will remain, and you'll still have to suffer through the commute every day, which means that you'll still have to accept the fact that you have limited choices. Because that kind of brings us, it will, I don't know how to say this, but sometimes you have to go out and make your own luck. Now, like I said, I'm a bestseller author of a book called Boom Bust and Back Again, and the reason why I put the emphasis on bust is because it's never always been easy for me. I've been through the journey of where near enough on the brink of going bust, and I've had to pull it back to boom bust and back again. And so, if you don't take those chances, if you don't take the opportunities, how are you ever going to better? How are you ever going to go forward? Are you going to still be stuck in the rat race? Are you going to be able to do the things that you said you wanted to do? And so I hope, it's with my sincerity that, I'd like to say thank you for being part of this webinar tonight. It's our hope that obviously you now understand why now is the best time to get involved in rent-to-rent as a business. And what I always tend to do on my webinars is that we also put my mobile number, and you've got my email address there. If you want to have a chat, you want to talk to me, you want to go through some of the things that we've discussed tonight, more than happy to do that tomorrow. If you want to have a chat about work coming on the workshop on the 15th and 16th of August, I'm probably going to be available for the next half an hour. I probably won't be able to go through all questions for rent and the strategy this evening, so we'll save those for tomorrow. But we can talk about the workshop tonight briefly. So if you like the thought of that, you can give me a call straight after the webinar. Some person said, just can we stick back up the link? So there's a link. So Neil, are you still online, by the way?
I am.
Okay, so let's use this opportunity now. We've still got we're still online for 7 minutes, my friend, which means that we've done it all within decent time. Are there any questions that anyone wants to ask, and is there anything that we can do to try and enhance your opportunity or talk about the rent-to-rent strategy? Okay, so Daniel said, can we please see your email? Okay. So my email address is there, so it's very simple. It's arsh@arshellahi.com. Okay, so are there any questions regards anything that we've spoken about today? Just go through some of the other questions. So Vicky said, how many times have you had to use your breaking clause, and what circumstances would you cause to invoke this? Vicky, just so that you know, I've never had to hand a property back to a landlord. I never envisage or I never want to give a property back to a landlord. Reason being is that if I give the property back to a landlord, that means that I'm failing. It means that I haven't done my due diligence. But I appreciate that someone somewhere may have to. And the only way that I would suggest, the only reason why I suggest you'd hand it back is A, it's not making money, which again, it shouldn't, you'd never be at that stage because you would have done that due diligence from day one. It could be that you become ill for whatever reason and you don't want that liability anymore. But if you're taking it on and it hasn't made money, you've really got to question, why has it not made money? Have you marketed the property correctly? Have you done as much as you can to try and find tenants? If it's losing money, and it does lose money, I've known some well-known rent-to-rent landlords who've given properties back. They may have taken the property on, they may have got the wrong tenant group in there, they may have caused trouble the most. But that's very rare for it to happen. So Abraham's come in with a question. He goes, what if one does not have a partner? Can one pay half price? Now, Abraham, that's a great question. And if you notice that we're actually offering this half price tonight. So the full price is 1,997, 1,997. And you are actually buying it at half price tonight. So it won't get discounted any further. But again, thank you for asking the question. John has asked, will it work on a two-bed terrace? John, with all due respect, a two-bed terrace is very limited to what you can do. If you did a two-bed terrace and utilised all the... Neil, have you ever done it on a two-bed terrace?
Yeah, I actually have, yeah.
Okay, how does it work?
It can be done, but there has to, the stars have to align, pretty much. Now, the one I did it on, the landlord was in a really bad situation, going through a divorce and all the rest of it. He was only keeping this one property. He had zero mortgage on it, so he didn't, it wasn't a case of he needed the money or anything like that. So he was very fortunate. So I got a two-bed terrace for £400 a month just down the road from Coventry University, which is unheard of because those properties go for at least £1,200 a piece. So I got it for 400. He was really happy because he knew I was going to renovate the property. And, he thought I'd spent 10,000 on the property, but actually I spent about 3,000, if that. And the funny thing is, what the landlords don't realise is, you own that furniture. So when they see all this really nice furniture going in, they think, oh, wow, look what they've done for my house. No, at the end of that agreement, that furniture's coming with me. I'm taking it with me. So yes, I did do it, and then I rented the rooms out over £400 a piece. So let's just say it was 1,200. Let's just call it £1,200 for 3 rooms. So 2-bed terrace, with one of the rooms downstairs being a bedroom. 1,200. Take off probably 250 utilities, so 650 off 1,200 is 550 cash flow a month. So yeah, it can be done.
Right, okay. Okay. So I'm just quickly having a quick look. So Jamal says, do you charge tenants admin fees and deposits? Yes, we do. We charge tenants admin fees and deposits, or depends, you may not want to charge the deposit. And if you do take a deposit, you obviously got to get that registered. Now, here's a question for you, Neil. So Ranish has put, do you pay the landlord market rent or below market rent?
I always pay below market rent. And the next question is probably how? How do you do it? Well, that's what I'd love to be able to explain now, but that's why we run a whole day on the second day covering this. In the negotiations triad, you get that full system of how you actually do that with the landlord. And when you take the landlord through that system, there's 9 components, 12 components if you want to be picky on it. When you take them through all of those components, they then see, okay, I understand what I'm paying, because we have a calculator. And when you break it all down with all the costs, the tenant sees, the landlord sees that they're not receiving, let's say, £1,000 a month. They might be receiving £600 a month from the letting agent, when they take all the fees out, and then the management and VAT, repairs and maintenance, voids, everything that goes with it. When you take all that out, they might only be getting £600 or £700 a month. and all I do is I offer to match that price, or I'll beat it by a little bit. So what I'm getting is £1,000 property a month for maybe 650.
Okay. Right. Okay. So Fiona's put, does rent to rent work for you in Wolverhampton? If so, how many properties have you acquired through this? So Fiona, I've actually got 23 properties through rent to rent in Wolverhampton. Fiona, I actually met Fiona last week on a HMO boot camp, and we actually drove past some of the properties that I've got on rent to rent. So Fiona, thanks for the question. So Vicky has asked, who's responsible for the buildings insurance on the deal? Now, the beauty with rent to rent is that it's all down to subject to negotiation. What you put in the negotiation and what you can get away with getting from the negotiation is that now you can try and negotiate that the landlord pays the maintenance, or he looks after the external structure whilst you look after the internal maintenance. Everything is down to what you're able to get away with the landlord. So there's no fixed, or there's no right or wrong way as to what to negotiate. But obviously, the more you can delegate to the landlord, the better your cash flow will look. And that's pretty much it. Right, so I'm just going through one. We're going to answer one last question. Chris has asked, how do you price rent cost for the tenants? Now, Chris, your research will determine what rent you charge for that property. So, for argument's sake, and I know Neil actually charges above the market rent for his properties. That's just purely down to the standard of the properties that he creates. Would you agree, Neil?
Yeah, definitely. People will always pay a premium for quality, always. And it's the same if you look at the car market. Why do people buy a Rolls Royce or a Ferrari when a Ford, whatever car will do the trick? The whole point is getting from A to B, because some people will pay a premium, and it's the same in every market. It doesn't matter what, Arsh and I, we have lots of different businesses. It doesn't matter which business we're talking about. In every single market, there will always be a premium price, and people will pay it.
Okay, so I suppose that's pretty much all the questions that we're going to answer for this evening. If there are any other questions, you can come through to me. If it's about the workshop, you can come through to me this evening. If it's about anything else that we've covered and you want to have a chat, you can give me a call tomorrow, and then let's see what we can do. So someone's just said, can you put my phone number back up? So yeah, if you want to talk about the workshop, I'll be available for the next 20 minutes or so, and then we can have a chat about that. But on that note, guys, I'd like to say thank you very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed presenting this evening. Neil, have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, always.
Okay, brilliant. And then let's move forward from there. So, guys, thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And if there are any other questions, feel free to get in touch. Take care. Good night. God bless.